So just waiting for Crystal to join. I thought I was going to have to restart my phone. Hey! Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hey, it
Awesome.
works.
Yes, I can. Cool.
Awesome. I was going to
Hi.
have to restart my phone because I've been having like connectivity issues. So I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's good.
Perfect. How are you?
Good. How's everything over there?
It's going great. Yeah, wait, can you hear it? Let me try. Can you actually hear out my headphones? Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. This is like
Cool.
just wait.
No
Cool.
worries. Your hair looks really good. I'm
Thank
like getting
you.
nervous that I might have to tone it again, but I'm just like, okay, just we'll see. It's maintenance.
Yes.
Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I'm live here in the UK and Crystal is live in California, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
I'm in LA.
awesome. Yay. Well, I'm just super excited about this. Thank you again for joining me on another High Achieving Hustlers every Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm always looking to add more value to all of you young professionals and entrepreneurs out there. I'm super excited about today's guest. We are working with her as well in one of our startups. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce you all to Crystal. So Crystal is a tarot reader and the spirit tutor. She combines the psychic system that inspired the Myers Briggs Type Indicator, astrology, and tarot to offer people psychological and spiritual insight into their path. Her current specialty is helping entrepreneurs channel their messaging and content they need to speak to their ideal audiences using her psychic background and 7 years as a political journalist featured in Bustle and on the Washington Post. In this discussion, she's going to go over understanding your uniqueness and how it's important for messaging and how you can use tarot or your mode of higher self-reflection to journal about your issues to obtain the insight that you'll need for your copywriting. So thank you so much again for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just know people are going to get so much value from you. So let's go to dive
Yay.
right in. So first of all, can you tell us briefly about your journey and how you got started?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I ended up going to college in Missouri for journalism. And while I was there, I just like became basically, I fell into like political reporting. I was really into racial justice, so I knew a lot about like social activism. And within all that, I picked up tarot as a way to better, like, have like a way of filtering my natural ability to read people and really like get to know like the inner workings of their psyche.
Mm-hmm.
And tarot gives you a way to translate all of that into like it's like concrete archetypes and such. So for me, my incentive has been, I really feel like when people understand their value and understand their truth, they end up doing the things that align with them. They stop worrying about like, oh, like even when they have the doubt, they can like help themselves out of it and such. And it comes down to understanding not just who you are, but how you function in the world around you. And you kind of need to know both to create, especially if you're a business owner, good content, because it's ultimately how you're leaving an impact on people. Like business owners all seek to impact and fill some need. And so I think that naturally, I like never thought I was going to be a business owner or like do anything related to that. But I really saw that with tarot, people were understanding themselves. And when you understand yourself, you naturally do the things that are aligned with you, and you do away with the things that you think you want, but end up being like, oh, I actually don't want that when I get to come home to myself. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so true because I feel like, especially in today's day and age, we just get so stuck in like comparison mode and that shiny object syndrome, right? So what we see is like working really well for somebody might not exactly work for us.
Yes, definitely. And, I feel like having a copy paste approach is probably the worst way to go about it, because what has worked for someone else, and here's the thing, I think there is a middle ground where you can not compare yourself to a fault, but you can still appreciate that what works for someone is something you can learn from, but not just take it on, right? You can like learn from it, but have your own discernment about all of it.
Yeah, it's so true. That's awesome. So for some people, I know the spiritual aspect may be a bit new for them. Can you share briefly about why it's all connected and how it's all connected?
Yeah, so I think that, everything you do is an extension of you, like in today's world. And the spiritual aspect is like, it's not like, oh, like if you just believe in yourself, you'll get what you want. It's more like if you believe in yourself, you believe you're real. Like if you believe in God, you believe God's real.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you believe that you're real, you can better monitor how you're messaging, how you're talking to people. And ultimately, like, I feel like selling and just marketing and just being in the business world is about a philosophy. You're selling a lifestyle. Like, even if you're service based, like, I don't know, you're still selling a way of life that is embodied through what you're doing. And so I think that when people see it that way, there's less pressure to like manipulate people and con them into like buying from you and stuff, and all this like bad connotations of business are done away from. And I think when you believe and you have faith in something, that's the best time for you to like kind of like center yourself, and you focus more on who you are, and everything is a self-growth journey. It's not about things that are out of your control, because often other people are out of our control. And I think that it just gives people that sort of grit that they need to do whatever it is they want to do. Because whether you're starting a business, or even you're raising a kid, or you're trying to like travel and not and like be by yourself, like no matter what you're endeavoring to do in life that's a stretch, you have to incorporate some aspect of faith. You have to trust something, and spirituality is like perfect for translating that. It's gotten a bad rap because I think religion or just a lot of false messaging can really turn people away from it. But I think spirituality is like an intimate journey with you, and when you're making a business or doing anything, you do have to like deal with you. You are the first person for that. So
yeah, exactly. That's awesome. And I think like because like even for me personally, like I was a little bit nervous because like I do put in that category of like the woo-woo stuff, right? Where I'm just like, I don't know if it's gonna work for me, right? And they kind of put the blinders on it, right? Yeah. But you know, I am after, you know, like since like working with you too, it's like more about like, you know, like exactly like you said, like, you know, understanding yourself first and then kind of how it's all connected from there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like I think like again, I really like to emphasize that this is about you. Everything's about you. And like you can listen to like Gabby Bernstein or all these people like tell you if you're low vibe or something, but really at the end of the day, that's for you to grapple with. And I think it's like actually nice. Like we spend so much time worrying about other people, but like when you're in the spiritual stuff, it's like no one wants anything from you but you. You know, like it's like all this stuff. So.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Can you share about you know, why understanding yourself is important for messaging, more so in like a business sense as well?
Yeah. So okay. When I was 17, like my high school like teacher who was teaching us about like Crime and Punishment, all those books, she told me that your writing voice, you're focusing too much on how you're saying things. You're not just saying like what you think, and your writing voice is your thoughts. And I was like, yeah, like I'm a good writer. Screw you. Like I like didn't like want to like, you know, listen to him, but I come back to that so often now. Like especially because in journalism you have to like lose the fluff and just say, and especially because you have to be objective in journalism, I really like got my ass kicked when it came to my ego. Like this word has to convey something really deep that I think, not just like a word I found in dictionary.com or something. So I think that understanding yourself is understanding your thoughts, and those are unique. That is your thing. Like that is something that even if you're selling something that everyone else is selling, even if you're also a business coach, everyone's signature method is different. Everyone's like way of explaining things is different because everyone's thought process is different. How everyone reasons is different. And so I think that we get so caught up in the comparison game because we're not paying how we know we're special. When you are confident in that, you don't have to like justify it to anyone. You don't have to like be insecure about it. You can just be like, the people that will recognize me will recognize me. And so with spirituality and messaging, I think it's like knowing yourself means you can focus on what's important, which is how am I serving the people that actually want what I have to offer, and how would they know what I have to offer unless I know what I have to offer. And it's that knowing. It's different than, oh, I'm like a business coach for like these people. It's more like I'm a business coach and I do things this way, and this is what I've learned I want people to know, and this is why I'm different than other business coaches. Not in a, oh, I'm better than you, but just I'm different because you're different and I'm different and blah blah blah. So I think that at the end of the day, like understanding yourself is also understanding what doesn't work for you, what does work for you, and not letting like others influence that so much, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, totally. I'm so glad that you shared that, because it's so true, right? I feel like we always get stuck in our own heads sometimes too, and then again, it's that comparison mode that comes back again. um,
How
do
we
you have
do,
any
and
advice? Oh,
it's
go ahead.
distraction. I think comparing yourself is a distraction from actually giving yourself the attention you want. Because if it's like always about other people, what about you? Like, do you like really know you if you're too busy thinking about everyone else? It's not even the comparison, like the relation point, but the fact that you're thinking more about them. And so, like, I think that that can be very dangerous because if you're not focused, it's like if you're trying to shoot a bunch of hoops, but you're not focusing on the actual hoop, you're focusing on everything else around you. Same with driving. If you're not paying attention to the road, you're paying attention to everything else. It's like, oh, shoot. Like, I think that it just throws you off course. And that's not a good place to be if you're doing something so risky like business owning. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm glad that you brought that up because it's like what we bring focus to, what we bring attention to, that's actually what happens. And I know this might be like kind of a morbid example, but like they actually did this study on like car accidents for this insurance company. And if so basically like, you know, if you're like driving in the rain and if you're staring at a lamppost, more oftentimes than not, like they put these just, you know, they put a bunch of people through a simulator and they did the eye tracking thing. And they actually had people like driving and like where did their eyes go? Everyone that was like looking at the lamppost actually hit it, you know, which is kind of crazy. And so like that's kind of a morbid example, but in the same light, you know, I think it really brings to light that we have to bring focus to ourselves and, you know, like what message are we trying to convey and kind of put the blinders on like everything else. What
Exactly.
advice do you have for people, you know, around this topic, you know, like how can they just like stay in their own lane, so to speak?
Well, they should work with me. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I think that is you should journal like a shit ton, and you should really get honest with yourself. Like when you're like, oh, I'm jealous that like Brianna has this kind of way of doing things and like Elena is doing this, and you'd be like, okay, well, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? What am I willing to change? What am I not willing to change? The first and most important step of all this is actually journaling. Like you don't have to be a tarot reader like me to get insight from yourself. You need to just be reflecting on what are the problems I'm trying to solve in my life right now, and like what are the anxieties coming up and what makes me feel better. Like try to comfort yourself first before you go to download a business freebie or listen to a podcast or listen to anything but yourself. Like we spend so much time being like, oh well, they hit 6 figures, so I'm gonna listen to what they did and what they have to say. Rather, you should use it as a hypothesis to figure out what I have to say or what I think. You know, like I understand that we're always learning, we're like trying to grow and like figure stuff out. You know, like that's important too, to be learning, but you also have to spend time integrating what you know. And if you aren't processing what you know and stepping into your authority as an expert of what you're doing, then how do you expect anyone else to take you seriously as an expert if you're not doing the maintenance work to remember that you're an expert, you know? And I think
your goals.
Ironically, working with other coaches who do different things makes me appreciate more what I have to offer, because it's fun to be like, I don't know personal style or finance or like food and all this stuff, but I do know spirituality, I do know tarot. And when I can appreciate what I don't know and appreciate what I know at the same time, I feel just really balanced. And they feel balanced too, because they're like, oh, like Crystal, because of what she does and her messaging, like kind of thing, she can better appreciate me, and that makes people want to work with me, right? So like from a sales perspective too, not just content, you convert people when you really know your thing, because then you really appreciate what you don't know, and other people can see it as an exchange. They feel valuable when they're working with you rather than it being a power dynamic. So when you step into your power, you give room for other people to appreciate your power too. And I think that that's something that they don't really talk about enough. Like, you know, it's like you rob people of the gift of giving to you when you don't give enough to yourself, when you're not letting yourself receive. So that's another thing I think I want people to like think about. Like it's not cocky for you to validate yourself, or it's not foolish, because that gives you the ability to see things clearly rather than just repress, oh, like I shouldn't believe in myself because it's not practical. I need to just see what works and just keep doing. Like I think that's the wrong strategy. It should be about coming back to center. And yeah.
That's awesome. I think what you just said was like pure gold. So I hope that if you guys are catching the replay, I hope that you take a lot of notes on that. um,
Yeah,
it just
because
brings me back to like, oh, go ahead.
your your content problems are your sales problems, are your mindset problems, are your personal problems.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly, yes.
Like, are like if you're so focused, if you're not focused enough on the right things, it's actually like bleeding into other aspects of your life. And I don't believe there's ever like, oh, you have to download this many freebies before you become good at this. It's more like, have you listened to all of the freebies enough to like contextualize them in the context of you? I think that's something really important.
Yeah, totally. No, you hit the nail on the head. I was going to say that too, because I was like, it's totally like a mindset piece too. And I was just going to give like another example. Like, you know, if you constantly think about like, oh yeah, I really want to pay off all my debt. I really want to pay off all my debt. You might just, that's all you're going to think about, right? Is just the debt piece versus like attracting new money in, right? Can you share a little bit about the mindset piece too?
Yeah, sure. So okay, it's actually funny because I know a lot about law of attraction, and at the end of the day, tarot's actually like an avenue for me to explain the law of attraction.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It even applies to content. You attract clients when you write the content that resonates with you, but to do that, you have to figure out what resonates with you.
Yep.
So with the money mindset thing, I always tell people that they're actually all chasing feelings, not actual like things. So like for example, it's like, well, why do you want the money? People are like, oh, because I want to like live in a nice house. Well, why do you want to live in a nice house? Well, because I don't want to live in a bad house. Well, why do you not want to live in the bad house? And then you get, when I hit this core, like this core aspect of what they're actually saying, asking, they're like, I don't want to live in a poor, shabby house because when I do, it makes me feel bad and then I can't work as well. But if I'm in a nice place, I'm clear. So I'm like, okay, so what you want is freedom. And this even comes down to everything about money is associated with freedom. Like, for example, when you want money to pay off, say, a debt, you actually don't even necessarily want the money. You want the freedom that would be associated with being debt-free.
Yes.
You don't want the money. You want the house that comes with that. You want freedom. And, you know, law of attraction is like, the only way to get it is to act as if it's already there. And people are like, well, it's not here, though. And here's the thing. You have to, like, then hone in on what about you is already free in order for you to get even more freedom. So don't think of it as money is the only way for me to be free. There's something else out there that makes you feel free. Because at the end of the day, if someone came around, they were like, hey, I'm the debt fairy and magically I've forgiven all of your debt, and you were still like broke, but like you would feel still pretty good because you'd be like, well, at least all the money I make now isn't just going to go to that debt, right? So, okay, like that's not exactly the way you pictured it. And so I say to people that you tell the universe what, not the how, right? You don't like say like, oh, it has to be this way, or no. So you always go, it's either going to come from this way or something better that I can't even think of. So, and it comes down to like this mindset thing with like, whenever you're just living your life and whenever you're like thinking about the feelings you want to have, those feelings will then transfer to like the clients. So whenever you're having a good experience with you, your clients will experience you in that same way you're experiencing you too. And that's something I really tell people. And I like how this is like not just messaging, but I guess kind of selling too. It all goes hand in hand though. How you feel about you and how it's, I talk about hacking your perspective. You're basically reprogramming yourself. You're gaming yourself into thinking of it differently. Because when you think of it differently, you act differently. And like our minds only have like, we only have like 10%.
Yeah.
Like there's so much like I don't know, like me sitting here, I could maybe be subconsciously picking up like bugs in here or something. Or that like there's like, I don't know, all these like little things, or there's like some kind of weird like smell coming in that I'm not paying attention to. There's so much I don't pick up. And so I think it's very when we think it's not going to happen, because it's like, how do you know that? Like the universe is bigger than just you. And so to bring that back to us, I think that when we are like, there's already freedom around me, let me try to pick it up. And then it spreads. Once you notice it, it grows. And then you can get creative. Here's the thing. The universe is one with us. So it's our creativity that we're really trying to access. When you're creative about, oh my God, there's that webinar name I've been trying to like look for forever. or when you get all of these like signs and aspects of your perspective changing, like that's when you start making the money. But you're not like, don't think of it as I'm trying to make money. It's like, I'm trying to get freedom. I'm trying to get freedom so I can serve more people so they can be free too. Ultimately, that's what everyone's after. We're trying to all free ourselves. If you just kept the house and you just hoarded your wealth, that's not a very wholesome way to look at it. You want to feel free. Same with soulmates. Like, we want to marry someone we love because we want to feel free. They enhance our ability to be free. In the end, it's all about you. And that's why understanding yourself is so important, because you are responsible for figuring out your own freedom. And figuring out your own freedom is the way to figure out how to be more free. And that's like why positivity matters. It's from a practical standpoint, how you translate your experience so you can then get more of what you want. Hope that makes sense. I'm only probably explaining like part of it, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, no, that is like pure gold. And so I'm just like, I feel like I should be taking notes here, right? But I get the replay. So
yeah,
no, it's all connected.
Yeah,
go ahead.
When I hear that people want money, I hear that they want freedom. And so I'm not like, oh, like, and when I'm like, I want money, I go, what am I actually saying? I go, oh, I want freedom. Okay, I'm going to go for a bike ride to remind myself of the freedom that I already have. And that makes me more grateful too. Like, it makes me more grateful when I'm thinking about freedom. I'm like, I've already been free in some ways. Like, I'm not like broke completely. I'm just not as rich as I want, but it puts me in the mindset of the freedom I've gotten so far from the money I have made. That will continue if I let myself believe that that came from what I was doing to make myself free with my intention. So this is why when people say law of attraction is like reductive or it's bogus, it's like you just haven't like broken it down enough to granularly explain how it works, right? And that's why I'm really passionate. We just keep going in this rabbit hole for like hours.
I know,
hours.
right?
I got examples I could tie this to that I might not even remember because I'm always like kind of channeling it weirdly, but like the law of attraction is a law. It's not a tool. It's like a law that we are beholden to. And it like works. It's like the laws of physics. You know what I mean? So like at the end of the day, when we can detach our story about money is the only way to be free, if we can detach from that, we get the money without needing it. And that's like a lot of what people are learning in law of attraction coaching. So yeah.
No, totally. Well, that's so powerful too, because it just rings true to that idea that everything is connected. Like, this is all connected to also selling, to your messaging, right? Like, bringing it back home, right? It's still connected to your messaging too, because like, what if, you are thinking in that particular mindset where, your content, your messaging, the desperation might start showing through, right?
Yeah.
And it's very true.
Like when you're like, everyone has that like success story. I was once broke and I was at rock bottom and then I believed in myself and here I am and I can teach you. I mean, okay. At its core, my first thought is like, how dare you co-opt your own? Like, I'm just like, ew. But that's also still literally what happened. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? People do hit rock bottom. They believe in themselves. And then they start telling people about it. No matter how cheesy it is, if it's them, they should sell that way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm never going to like be like, well, I don't resonate with that. But am I going to say that's objectively bad? No, because if it makes them on fire and it makes them like understand truth, then like, by all means, go ahead. Because selling and messaging is all a transfer of enthusiasm and explaining the wisdom of the value you have to offer. And if you give people the information, they'll be like, okay, well, at the very least, you planted a seed. So think of it as you're always impacting people before you even realize you are. And so when we're like, I'm not getting enough clients, I'm like, well, you have some clients, which is why our like business coach, Elaine, always talks about prioritizing the clients you have. Even if they're not your ideal clients, the information they give you about who you are will help you get to where you feel more free. Everything is a starting point. And that's what I really like teaching. I'm like, when I coach people with messaging, I always focus on what you're already doing. And we're going to look at not just how it's not good, but also how it's good. Because there is both. Because you cannot like run a business at all without some. So even if the self off base, you couldn't do anything if there wasn't some aspect of self-awareness, you know? So,
completely, 100%. This has been so good. Okay, so last question. I always love to end these Q&As with action steps. What is the one action step that you would recommend to these young professionals and entrepreneurs to do today, as I know we've covered a lot?
Well, I think the biggest action step is, what kinds of problems do I enjoy solving for people? And how do I solve them differently than anyone else out there? That is like the biggest journaling question you can ask yourself. Like, what problem am I solving, and how am I solving it differently than other people? And don't worry if it's really hard to pinpoint that. Don't worry if you don't quite know the answer for that. Because if that's something that you intend to figure out, you're going to naturally figure it out. Because if it's in your awareness, you're going to orient yourself to making sure you jot down your signature method, making sure you jot down your like mindset blocks and getting to that. And if you're not solving any problems, you'll figure out the ones you want to solve, and your messaging will automatically be on point. So that is the one thing I want to tell people to focus on, because
awesome.
if you can do that, then you're gold. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think I'm gonna have my partner and I do it tonight.
Yeah,
well, it's nighttime here already. It's like 7:30, but
yeah, like I mean, maybe you can do it like tomorrow morning.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you so much for sharing more about like your story, your advice, and your tips today. It's just been like really inspiring to learn more about you, and also just like more about like the work that you do as well. So for people that are interested in learning more from you or working with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, great. I'll talk to you later, Monique. It was so great
Oh,
having you.
hold on. I was asking, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're good. There's like a lag, so it's okay.
Wow, so funny. Yeah. Well, people can get in touch with me on Instagram first and foremost. And they can like book a free 15-minute clarity call with me as well on my link tree. But sending me a DM, I'm always checking those. So if you just want to like get in touch and know more about my process, book that 15-minute clarity call, DM me, whatever. I have lots of offerings. But, you know, if you want to just get to know how I work, then we can talk first. So yeah.
Yay, that sounds good. Well, thank you so much again. And thank you everyone for tuning in or catching the replay. Please let me know your thoughts and feedbacks as always, or if you'd like me to have Crystal on again sometime. I'm sure she'd love to. Any final thoughts from you, Crystal?
I think I'm good for now, but yeah, I really want people to think about what problem they're solving and what impact they want to make. So yeah.
That sounds good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.